Hi everyone, and welcome to Talktober. This series is going to be a daily series that you can find here on Kalyn's Coffee Talk and Flows channel, where there will be a new talk every day from Monday to Friday for the whole month of October. To start off, I am sipping on a lavender tea. Every day of the week on Monday is going to be a journal prompt with a mini talk that goes with it. So I'm going to prompt you with a question, and then you can pause the coffee talk and reflect on the question or write about the question, or you can jump right into the actual mini talk itself. However, if you are a member, then your version of today's Talktober will include the writing period if you'd like it to be more interactive, where you can actually write with me and then resume the talk together. Picture this. You have a cup of tea. You're sitting across from me right now. We're having a nice chat as the crickets outside are, making their sound. The stars are starting to pop out in the sky. And I look over to you and I ask you, in what ways is your life going through a season of change right now? In what ways are you changing? In what ways are your circumstances changing? In what ways is your life changing? And maybe it's as simple as just the change of seasons, moving into a colder season, winding down from the bright, vibrant summer into a harvest of fall, into turning the volume down, bringing the energy down, and really being able to relax and reap the rewards that you've worked so hard for this year. Just in what ways, from small to big, are you going through change? Have you gone through change? Or are you experiencing change? When I was thinking about different themes for mini talks we could have this month, obviously the first thing that popped into my mind is the change of seasons. It's, to me, symbolic to the fact that change is always inevitable. It's the one constant in our life, is that there's always going to be change. Nothing will ever remain the same. Sometimes that can be a really daunting truth to hold space for. Other times it can be exciting because it means that things will always be fresh and new in one way or another. It's very comforting to know, if you do lean into feeling more daunted about the idea that change is the only constant, is that nothing changes all at once. Very rarely. For instance, one constant that you can at least hold on to in your lifetime is the fact that you are you. And while you'll go through evolution, you'll go through growth, you'll go through change of taste, you are always going to be you. You are always going to be who you are. You are your own constant in a world of nonstop change. But change at its very core is part of the nature that we've come to know as human beings. It's inevitable. You can't escape it. I know in my life, the times where I've resisted change are the times where I've blocked myself and held myself back the most. Even right now in this season of my life, one of the things that I wrote down that I feel like my life is changing, there are shifts and changes happening with my job. I have no idea where I'm landing. I have no idea what it's going to look like. But the more I resist that change, the harder it's feeling. So instead, I'm trying to lean into, what does it look like to allow things to change, to allow the one thing I've known as my job, as my income, as my career, to shift into something totally new. It doesn't have to change entirely, or maybe it does, but either way, I do myself an injustice by not allowing myself to lean into, be curious about, and have fun with the change that's inevitably happening. The only reason why we ever tend to resist change to begin with is because we want that familiarity, that comfort in what is already known, in what is predictable in our lives. So that usually manifests itself in fear, or manifests itself in uncertainty and indecision. That's where I'm stuck in. I've gone through my phase of fear, and now I'm in my phase of, well, gosh, I have no idea what I want to do with this change. I have no idea what comes after this change. And if you feel that, if you're in a season of your own life where your change is unfathomable, you can't really nail it down yet, then the comfort I'm taking in that feeling is, maybe I'm not supposed to know. Sometimes change is in your hands. Other times you have to let life unfold in front of you and allow your life to change. And you lean into it. You embrace it. You embody it. Another example of this would have been when I went through the changes physically, mentally, and just in my life, going through a pregnancy and then entering motherhood. I remember at the very beginning thinking, this is going to be a lot of change, and I have no idea what that's even going to look like. That taught me how to trust the process of change without needing to actually mentally control or do anything myself. I was able to relax into the hands of, or it's like metaphoric hands of my body, or relax into the hands of nature and know that it's gonna run its course and I'll figure it out along the way. So take that wisdom that's built into your body, that's built into your existence solely for the fact that you are born and you're here, and lean into that trust, lean into that intuitive notion that you are being carried in one way or another. And yes, things are going to change, and sometimes that can be challenging, but it can also lead to a lot of personal growth. If you can, even if it feels like you're faking it till you make it, look at the change that feels daunting in your life, or look at the change that feels uncertain and makes you feel unsteady or anxious, and look at it instead as an opportunity. There's a quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I will put it on the screen because I want to give credit where credit's due, and I can't for the life of me remember whose quote it is off the top of my head, but it's, when nothing is certain, anything is possible. And that's such a comforting thought. Like, yes, it can be nerve-wracking, it can be unsettling, but when nothing is certain, anything is possible. Another little nugget of wisdom to plop in here is whatever you think, you're already right to an extent. But what I mean by that is, if you think this change is going to be horrible, you're setting the notion as you go into this change that it's going to be horrible. If you can go into it with openness, with curiosity, even if you aren't going to enjoy it, you don't have to go into it and say, I love this if you don't love it, but just go into it thinking, I'm curious. I'm a little go into it like you're investigating, go into it like you're going into a study. Try to depersonalize it. Try to objectify the change you're going through. Imagine it was happening to somebody else. What would you tell them? Go into it with curiosity. See what's going to unfold. You will be shocked by the amount of opportunities that actually lay seeds waiting to be found, or golden eggs waiting to be found when your life is a crystal ball and it just gets shaken up and everything is shifting and changing and it's a flurry. There are little golden nuggets of opportunity, little doors to open to a whole new reality for you that you can walk through if you allow yourself to trust and stay curious about change. And ultimately, whatever change you are going through, if you can lean into giving yourself grace, giving yourself space to be resilient, be as resilient as you can be. And back in August, we had a coffee talk about resilience, so you can jump to that if you want a longer talk today. Be resilient, but also be kind to yourself as you go through change. Some days it's going to feel easier and exciting and opportunistic and optimistic. Other times it's going to feel scary, it's going to feel uncertain. Maybe you have a lot on your plate one day, or you're feeling really stimulated and suddenly you clam up and you're terrified again. That's fine. It's like a tide. It's going to come and go, but it's all about how you ride that wave. So riding that wave, finding that resiliency comes from being kind to yourself, being soft with yourself, letting yourself see how things unfold, like watching a movie, having no idea what's going to happen in the next scene, and you're kind of on the edge of your seat. You might have a little bit of a jump scare, but for the most part, just let yourself relax and enjoy the film. I think that's enough metaphors for me today. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the concept of change, what change you might be going through, any advice you might have for anyone listening today that is also going through a season of change. If you are listening to the podcast, you can hop over to Kalyn's Coffee Talk and Flows on YouTube, where you will find today's Talktober and all of the Talktober video versions of these episodes. But that said, if you're more of a podcast person, then I appreciate you listening to the podcast. Feel free to rate it and let me know what you think, because it does definitely help with the content that I create. And also, if you'd like to support the show, you can become a member of the Sunday Club, where every Sunday there are bonus content. You become part of the community here, where we go through these seasons together. We have monthly challenges. We have movie nights, and it's just a really fun community about growth and comfort and compassion. So definitely feel free to come join us over in the Sunday Club. It's a very cozy crew. So I'm cheersing you guys my teacup, and I will talk to all of you guys in tomorrow's Talktober video. Bye everyone.